The mark that set her apart. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos arrived at Naval Station Pearl Harbor in 2003 with an impressive service record and a distinctive scar that ran from her left temple down to her jawline. The jagged mark was impossible to hide, and she never tried to. She wore her uniform with pride, her hair pulled back regulation style, the scar visible for all to see. Within days of her arrival, the whispers started. Some sailors speculated it was from a bar fight. Others made cruel jokes about beauty contests gone wrong. A few particularly insensitive junior officers started calling her Scarface behind her back. The nickname spread through the base like wildfire. Maria heard every comment, every joke, every whispered speculation. She never responded, never defended herself, never explained. She simply reported to duty each day, performed her job with exceptional skill, and maintained a dignified silence about the origin of her scar. What none of her critics knew was that the scar wasn't just a mark on her skin. It was a map, a physical reminder of a mission that had cost her face but saved something far more valuable: the honor of a fallen hero and the truth about what really happened on a dark night in the mountains of Afghanistan. The mission that changed everything. 3 years earlier, in 2000, Maria had been a Navy lieutenant serving as an intelligence liaison with a Joint Special Operations Unit in Afghanistan. Her job was to coordinate information between Navy intelligence and ground forces conducting counterterrorism operations in the mountainous regions near the Pakistan border. One of her closest colleagues was Commander David Mitchell, a decorated Navy SEAL who had become both a mentor and a friend. Mitchell was respected throughout the special operations community for his integrity, his tactical brilliance, and his unwavering commitment to bringing his people home safely. In September 2000, Mitchell's team was conducting a reconnaissance mission in a remote mountain village suspected of harboring high-value targets. The mission went catastrophically wrong. An ambush left 3 SEALs dead and Mitchell himself critically wounded. In the chaos of the firefight and emergency extraction, classified documents containing sensitive intelligence about ongoing operations were lost. When the dust settled and the wounded were evacuated, the military launched an investigation. The lost documents were a serious breach of operational security. Someone had to be held accountable, and Commander Mitchell, as the team leader, was the obvious choice. The official report concluded that Mitchell had been negligent in securing classified materials during the mission. He was reprimanded, stripped of a commendation, and quietly transferred to a training position away from active operations. For a man who had dedicated his life to special operations, it was a devastating blow. 6 months later, Mitchell died by suicide, leaving behind a wife and 2 young daughters. Maria had been devastated by his death. She knew Mitchell better than most, and something about the official story didn't sit right with her. Mitchell was meticulous about security protocols. He would never have been careless with classified documents, especially not during a high-risk mission. But the investigation was closed, and nobody wanted to reopen old wounds. Nobody except Maria. The unauthorized investigation. For months, Maria quietly investigated what really happened that night in Afghanistan. She reviewed mission reports, interviewed surviving team members who would talk to her, and analyzed tactical communications from the operation. She did all of this on her own time, without official authorization, knowing that if she was caught conducting an unauthorized investigation, her career would be over. What she discovered was shocking. The classified documents hadn't been lost due to Mitchell's negligence. They had been deliberately taken by an Afghan interpreter who was secretly working for the Taliban. The interpreter had been vetted and approved by military intelligence, Maria's own department, and he had exploited the chaos of the ambush to steal the documents and escape. But admitting this would have been a massive embarrassment for military intelligence. It would have revealed serious failures in the vetting process and raised questions about how many other compromised interpreters were working with American forces. So instead, the blame was quietly placed on Mitchell, a convenient scapegoat who couldn't defend himself during the investigation because he was too badly wounded and traumatized. Maria compiled her evidence into a comprehensive report. She knew that releasing it would be controversial and possibly career-ending, but she also knew that Mitchell's name deserved to be cleared. His daughters deserved to know that their father hadn't been negligent, that he had died carrying undeserved shame. On early 2003, Maria submitted her findings to the Naval Inspector General's office. She requested a formal review of Mitchell's case and the reinstatement of his honor and commendations posthumously. The price of truth. The response was swift and harsh. She was called into a closed-door meeting with senior officers who made it clear that her investigation was unwelcome. She was told that reopening the Mitchell case would damage unit cohesion, undermine confidence in military intelligence, and serve no useful purpose since the subject was deceased. She was strongly encouraged to withdraw her report and let the matter rest. When she refused, the pressure intensified. She was reassigned to a dead-end position. Her fitness reports suddenly became less favorable. Doors that had been opened to her began to close. The message was clear: back down or your career is over. Maria refused to back down. She took her evidence to a journalist who had covered military affairs and was known for responsible reporting on sensitive issues. The story broke in a major newspaper detailing the flawed investigation and the scapegoating of Commander Mitchell. The Pentagon was furious. Military officials claimed Maria had violated operational security by speaking to the press, though she had carefully avoided disclosing any classified information. She was subjected to multiple investigations, interrogations, and administrative hearings. The stress was overwhelming, but she stood by her evidence and her decision to speak out. Then came the night that would leave her scarred forever. Maria was driving alone on a rural road near the base when another vehicle forced her off the road at high speed. Her car rolled multiple times down an embankment. When emergency responders found her, she was unconscious and bleeding heavily from facial lacerations caused by shattered glass. The official report called it a hit-and-run accident by an unknown driver. But Maria had seen the other vehicle, a dark sedan with no plates. And in the weeks leading up to the crash, she had noticed the same vehicle following her on several occasions. She believed it was a deliberate attempt to silence her, though she could never prove it. She spent weeks in the hospital recovering from her injuries. The doctors did what they could, but the scar on her face would be permanent. During those long days of recovery, Maria had time to think about whether the fight had been worth it. Justice, at last. While Maria was still hospitalized, something unexpected happened. Her story had gained traction in the media, and public pressure mounted for a genuine review of the Mitchell case. Several members of Congress demanded answers. Other intelligence officers who had harbored doubts about the original investigation quietly came forward with supporting evidence. Finally, the Navy ordered a formal reinvestigation. This time, with media scrutiny and political pressure, the investigators couldn't simply sweep uncomfortable truths under the rug. They confirmed what Maria had discovered. The classified documents had been stolen by a compromised interpreter, not lost through Commander Mitchell's negligence. In late 2003, the Navy officially exonerated Commander David Mitchell. His commendation was posthumously reinstated, and his service record was corrected. A formal letter of apology was sent to his widow, along with restored benefits that had been reduced following his original reprimand. Maria attended the small private ceremony where Mitchell's family received his restored commendation. His widow, Linda, embraced her with tears streaming down both their faces. "Thank you for giving me my husband back," Linda whispered. "Thank you for letting my daughters know their father was a hero, not a failure." That moment, Maria later said, made everything worth it. The scar, the damaged career, the months of stress and intimidation, all of it was worth restoring honor to a good man who had died, believing he had failed. The scar as a map. When Maria arrived at Pearl Harbor months later, she wore that scar like a badge of honor. But she didn't explain it, because the people making jokes weren't worthy of the explanation. They saw only a disfigurement, something to mock or pity. They didn't see what the scar represented: integrity, courage, and the willingness to sacrifice everything for what was right. The scar was indeed a map, as the title suggests. It mapped the journey from comfortable silence to uncomfortable truth. It marked the path from accepting injustice to fighting it, regardless of personal cost. It charted the road from watching a good man's name be destroyed to restoring his honor, even when powerful people wanted that honor to stay buried. Gradually, as Maria's reputation for exceptional intelligence work grew at Pearl Harbor, some of her colleagues became curious about her background. They learned about the Mitchell case, about her investigation, about the price she paid for pursuing truth. The jokes stopped. The nickname Scarface disappeared. In its place came respect, not for the scar itself, but for what it represented. The lesson in the scar. Maria Santos's story teaches us several powerful lessons. First, it reminds us that we should never judge people by their physical appearance or make assumptions about scars we don't understand. Every mark on someone's body, every visible difference, has a story behind it. That story might be one of survival, sacrifice, courage, or simply life's unpredictability. We don't have the right to mock what we don't understand. Second, Maria's story shows us that doing the right thing often comes with a cost. Speaking truth to power isn't comfortable or safe. It requires courage and conviction, and it can leave scars, both visible and invisible. But some things are worth the cost: justice, honor, truth, and the knowledge that you stood up when it would have been easier to stay silent. Third, her story demonstrates that one person really can make a difference. Maria was just one lieutenant going up against institutional pressure to keep quiet. She had no guarantee that her fight would succeed. She knew she might destroy her career, face retaliation, and still fail to clear Mitchell's name. But she fought anyway, and because she did, a dead man's honor was restored, and his daughters could be proud of their father's true legacy. Finally, Maria's story reminds us that real strength isn't always visible. The people who mocked her scar saw weakness, disfigurement, something to joke about. They didn't see the strength it took to earn that scar. They didn't understand that she wore it without shame because she had nothing to be ashamed of. A map we all should follow. The title says Maria's scar was a map to lost honor, but in a deeper sense, her story is a map for all of us, a guide to how we should live when we're faced with injustice, institutional pressure, and the easy choice to remain silent. Her map shows us that honor isn't just something given by institutions or represented by medals and commendations. True honor comes from within, from knowing you did what was right even when it cost you everything. And sometimes, restoring someone else's honor requires risking your own. So the next time you see someone with a visible scar, disability, or difference, remember Maria Santos. Remember that you're seeing only the surface, not the story. Remember that the mark you're tempted to judge or mock might represent a battle fought, a sacrifice made, or a stand taken for something greater than themselves. And if you ever find yourself facing a choice between comfortable silence and costly truth, remember the woman whose scar was a map. Remember that some paths are worth walking even when they leave permanent marks. Remember that honor, both yours and others, is worth fighting for, regardless of the price. If Maria Santos's story moved you, help us honor everyone who carries scars from fighting for what's right. Like this video to show respect for those who sacrifice for truth and justice. Subscribe for more untold military stories of courage and integrity. Share with someone who needs to hear this message about not judging what we don't understand. Comment below. Have you ever stood up for what was right, even though it cost you? Or have you witnessed someone being mocked for something that actually represented their greatest strength? Remember, never mock a scar until you know the battle that caused it. Sometimes what looks like a mark of weakness is actually a medal of honor written on skin instead of pinned to a uniform.